It was a normal evening. Daniel was not supposed to be home early that day. His meeting at work was cancelled at the last minute. He thought it would be a nice surprise for his wife, Emma. Maybe they could eat dinner together. Maybe watch a movie like they used to. The house was quiet when he opened the door. Too quiet. He called her name softly. Emma. No answer. He walked inside and noticed her car was not in the driveway. That meant she was not home. He felt a little disappointed but decided to take a shower and relax. While walking toward the bedroom, he heard a small sound. A voice. It was coming from their study room. Daniel stopped. The door was slightly open. A faint light was coming from inside. He slowly walked closer. The voice sounded like Emma, but she was not home. His heart started beating faster. He pushed the door open gently. Inside the room, their laptop was open on the desk. The screen was on. A video was playing. Daniel stepped closer, and then he froze. On the screen was Emma. She was sitting in this same room, wearing the same sweater she had this morning. Her face looked serious, tired, almost scared. The video did not look old. It looked recent, very recent. Daniel looked around the room quickly. The chair in front of the desk was empty. The window was closed. No one was there, but the video kept playing. Emma on the screen looked directly into the camera. "If you are watching this," she said slowly, "then something has already gone wrong." Daniel felt a chill run down his back. What was this? Why would Emma record something like that? He leaned closer to the laptop. In the video, Emma's eyes looked different. They were not soft and warm like always. They looked cold, careful. "I did not want him to find out like this," she continued. "But I cannot keep this secret anymore." Daniel's hands began to shake. Secret? What secret? The video suddenly paused. The screen went black. Daniel stared at his own reflection in the dark screen. His breathing became heavy. He quickly moved the mouse and pressed play again. Nothing happened. He checked the video file. There was only one clip, 10 minutes long, but it stopped at 2 minutes. The rest of the file was corrupted. Daniel felt confused. Why would Emma record a message? Who was it for? Him? Someone else? He checked the date of the recording. It was recorded today, 1 hour ago. But that was impossible. Emma had left the house early in the morning. She said she was going to her friend's place before work. Daniel's mind started racing. Was she lying? Was she here earlier? Or was someone else using her face? He shook his head. That was crazy. He tried to calm himself. Maybe she was planning something. Maybe it was a surprise. Maybe this was part of a joke. But deep inside, he knew it was not a joke. Emma did not joke like that. He stood up and looked around the study room carefully. Everything looked normal. But then he noticed something strange. The bookshelf near the wall was slightly moved. Just a little. Daniel had good memory. He always kept things in order. He knew that shelf was never like that. He walked closer. There was a small gap behind it. His heart began to pound loudly. He slowly pushed the shelf aside. Behind it was a small hidden space in the wall. And inside that space was a camera. A small recording camera, still warm. Daniel stepped back in shock. Someone had been recording inside his house. Inside his study room. But who? Emma? Or someone else? His phone suddenly buzzed in his pocket. He almost jumped. It was a message from Emma. "I might be late tonight. Don't wait for me." Daniel stared at the message. His hands felt cold. He looked back at the laptop screen. The paused image of Emma was still there. Her face frozen. Her eyes looking straight into him. As if she knew he would find this. As if she knew this moment would come. Daniel whispered softly to himself, "What are you hiding from me, Emma?" And for the first time in his marriage, he felt something he never felt before. Fear. Because whatever that video was, it was never meant to be seen. And now that he had seen it, there was no going back. Daniel did not sleep that night. He lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. The house felt different now. Every small sound made his heart jump. The ticking clock sounded louder. The wind outside felt heavier. Emma still had not come home. Her message was short, simple, normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. Around midnight, Daniel heard the front door open quietly. His body became stiff. He stayed still in bed and listened. Soft footsteps walked inside. Slow, careful. Why was she walking like that? A few seconds later, the bedroom door opened gently. Daniel closed his eyes halfway, pretending to sleep. Emma stepped inside. He could hear her breathing, but something felt wrong. It was too calm, too controlled. She stood near the bed for a moment, just standing there, watching him. Daniel could feel her eyes on his face. His heart was beating so loudly he was sure she could hear it. Then she walked toward the bathroom. The light turned on. Daniel slowly opened his eyes. He waited. After a minute, he got up quietly and walked toward the bathroom door. It was slightly open. He looked inside. Emma was standing in front of the mirror, but she was not moving. She was just staring at her reflection. Her face had no emotion. Her eyes looked empty. Daniel watched silently. Then he heard her whisper, "You should not have recorded that." Daniel's stomach tightened. Recorded what? The video? She lifted her hand slowly and touched the mirror. And then she smiled. But it was not Emma's smile. It was different, colder, stranger. "You always ruin everything," she whispered again. Daniel pushed the door open fully. "Emma?" She jumped slightly and turned around. Her expression changed quickly. Soft, normal, confused. "Oh, you're awake," she said gently. Her voice sounded normal again. Daniel looked at her carefully. "Who were you talking to?" he asked. She blinked. "No one," she replied quickly. "I was just thinking, in the mirror, talking to herself." Daniel forced a small smile. "You scared me," he said. She walked closer to him and touched his arm. Her hand felt cold. "Why would I scare you?" she asked softly. Her eyes looked into his, but Daniel could not shake the feeling. For a moment, that was not his wife. He stepped back slightly. "You came home late," he said. "Yes," she answered calmly. "I told you." He nodded slowly. "Were you home earlier today?" he asked carefully. She froze, just for 1 second. But Daniel noticed. "No," she said. "Are you sure?" She looked at him deeply. "Why are you asking me that?" Her tone changed. Not angry, but sharp. Daniel hesitated. Should he tell her about the video? About the camera behind the shelf? About the message she recorded? He decided to stay quiet. "Nothing," he said. "I just thought I heard something earlier." Emma stared at him for a few seconds. Long seconds. Then she smiled again. "That's strange," she said softly. "Maybe the house is playing tricks on you." The house. Or her. She walked past him and returned to bed. Daniel stayed in the bathroom alone. He slowly turned toward the mirror. He looked at his own reflection. Tired eyes. Pale face. He felt like a stranger in his own home. Then something caught his attention. On the mirror, there were faint marks, like someone had written something with a finger on the fog earlier. But now it was almost gone. Daniel leaned closer. He breathed lightly on the glass. The fog slowly appeared again, and the hidden message became clear. 3 words. "I am not Emma." Daniel felt his legs become weak. He stepped back quickly. His breathing became heavy. He turned around slowly toward the bedroom. Emma was lying in bed, her back facing him. Still, silent. Daniel looked at the mirror again. The message was still there. "I am not Emma." His mind began to race. Was this a joke? Was someone else in this house? Or was Emma hiding something much bigger? He wiped the mirror quickly with his hand. The message disappeared. But the fear did not. He turned off the bathroom light and walked slowly back to bed. He lay down next to her. But he did not move close. He kept space between them. As he stared into the darkness, one thought kept repeating in his mind. If she is not Emma, then who is sleeping next to him? And more importantly, where is his real wife? Daniel woke up before sunrise. He did not remember falling asleep. The room was quiet. Cold morning light entered through the curtains. Emma was not in bed. His heart jumped again. He sat up quickly and looked around. The bathroom door was open. Empty. He could hear a small sound from downstairs, like a chair moving. Daniel stood up slowly and walked out of the bedroom. Each step felt heavy. When he reached the kitchen, he saw Emma standing near the stove. She was making coffee. She looked peaceful, calm, like nothing had happened. "Good morning," she said softly without turning around. Daniel watched her carefully. How did she know he was there without looking? "Morning," he replied. She turned and smiled. The same warm smile he had known for years. For a moment, he questioned himself. Maybe he was overthinking. Maybe stress was playing with his mind. But then his eyes moved toward the hallway mirror. He froze. The mirror was clean. But for a second, he thought he saw something behind her reflection. Another shape, standing close behind Emma. He blinked. It was gone. Emma handed him a cup of coffee. "You look tired," she said. "I didn't sleep well," he answered. She studied his face. "Bad dreams." He hesitated. "Something like that." She stepped closer to him. Her voice became soft. "You know you can tell me anything." Daniel looked into her eyes. He wanted to believe her, but last night's message on the mirror echoed in his mind. "I am not Emma." After breakfast, Emma said she needed to go out again. Another excuse. Another sudden plan. When she left the house, Daniel did not wait. He went straight to the study room. The hidden camera behind the shelf was still there. He took it out carefully. It was small and simple. He checked the memory card. There were many recordings, not just one. His hands shook as he inserted the card into the laptop. A list of video files appeared. Most were recorded late at night. When he was asleep, he opened the first one. The video showed the study room, empty at first. Then the door opened slowly. Emma walked inside. But something about her walk was different. Her shoulders were straight, her face serious, not gentle like usual. She sat in front of the camera and stared directly into it. "I told you he would find out," she said coldly. Daniel felt his chest tighten. In the video, she continued speaking. "You are weak," she said. "You always were." She paused. Then her expression changed. Her eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted this," she whispered. Daniel watched in horror. It was like two different people were speaking. Her face shifted between anger and sadness, between cold and soft, between someone he knew and someone he had never seen before. He opened another file. In this video, she stood near the bookshelf. She looked nervous. "They are starting to remember," she said quietly. "They? Who were they?" Daniel's breathing became heavy. He fast-forwarded. At the end of the video, something strange happened. Emma walked toward the bookshelf. She pushed it slightly, and then she disappeared. Daniel stared at the screen. Disappeared. Not walked away. Not turned off the camera. She stepped behind the shelf and vanished. His heart pounded loudly. He slowly stood up from the chair. He walked toward the bookshelf in real life. The same shelf from the video. His hands felt cold as he touched it. He pushed it gently. It moved easier than he expected. Behind it was not just a small space for the camera. There was something else. A thin wooden door, almost invisible, painted the same color as the wall. Daniel felt dizzy. He had lived in this house for 5 years. He never knew this door existed. His fingers trembled as he touched the handle. The air around him felt heavy. He slowly pulled it open. Darkness. A narrow staircase going down. Cold air rising from below. Daniel's heart beat so loudly it felt painful. Why would there be a hidden staircase in his own house? And why did Emma know about it, but never tell him? He turned on his phone flashlight. The light shook in his hand. He took one step down. The wood creaked softly. Another step. And another. The deeper he went, the colder it became. At the bottom, there was a small room. Very small. With only one light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And on the wall, photos. Dozens of photos. All of Emma. But some photos were different. In some, she was smiling softly. In others, her expression was hard, cold, and in a few, she had written a different name under her face. Elena. Daniel felt like the ground disappeared under him. On a small table in the corner, there was a notebook. He opened it slowly. The first page had two names written again and again. Emma. Elena. Emma. Elena. And under them, only one sentence. Only one of us can stay. Daniel's hands began to shake. Daniel stood frozen at the bottom of the hidden stairs. The light above him flickered softly. At the top of the staircase, Emma's shadow stretched long across the wall. "You should not have come down here," she repeated calmly. Her voice was steady, too steady. Daniel tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. "Emma, what is this place?" he finally managed to ask. She did not answer right away. Instead, she slowly walked down the stairs, step by step. Her eyes never left his face. When she reached the bottom, she looked around the small hidden room. The photos on the wall, the notebook on the table, the names written again and again. Emma. Elena. Daniel stepped back. "Who is Elena?" he asked softly. For a moment, something changed in her face. A small smile appeared. Not warm, not loving, cold. "You already know," she said quietly. Daniel shook his head. "No, I don't." Emma moved closer to the wall of photos. She touched one picture gently. In it, she looked different. Her hair was tied back tighter. Her eyes looked sharper. "That one is not Emma," she said. Daniel's heart began to pound. "Then who is it?" She turned toward him slowly. "Elena." The name echoed in the small room. Daniel's breathing became heavy. "You told me she was gone," he whispered. Emma tilted her head slightly. "I never said she was gone," she replied. "I said she was not here." Daniel felt confused. "What does that mean?" Emma walked past him and picked up the notebook from the table. She opened it and looked at the pages filled with names. "Emma was always weak," she said softly. "She cried too much. She trusted too easily." Her voice sounded different now, stronger, colder. Daniel stared at her. "You're scaring me." She looked at him directly. "Good," she said quietly. The single word felt like ice. Daniel's chest tightened. "Where is my wife?" he asked. Her eyes darkened. "She is right here." "No," Daniel said firmly. "This is not her." For a second, anger flashed across her face. Then suddenly her expression changed. Her eyes filled with tears. Her shoulders shook. "Daniel, please," she whispered weakly. "Help me." It was Emma's voice again, soft, afraid. Daniel stepped forward quickly. "Emma," she grabbed his shirt tightly. "I didn't mean for you to find this," she cried. "I tried to keep her quiet." "Keep who quiet?" he asked desperately. Her breathing became fast. "She doesn't like you," Emma whispered. "She thinks you are trying to take everything." Daniel felt like he could not breathe. "Emma, there is no she." Her body suddenly stiffened. Her tears stopped. Slowly, she pushed him away. "You are wrong," she said coldly. "She has always been here." Daniel looked around the hidden room again. The photos, the writing, the camera recordings. It felt like two lives were fighting inside one body. "Why did you hide this place from me?" he asked. Emma walked to the corner of the room and opened a small wooden box. Inside were old photos, very old, from childhood. Two little girls, identical, holding hands. Daniel stared. "You never told me you had a twin," he said. Emma's fingers tightened around the photos. "They loved her more," she said quietly. "Who?" "Everyone." Her voice trembled. "Elena was brave, loud, strong. I was the quiet one." She smiled sadly. "But strong people break too." Daniel felt something shift inside him. "Did something happen?" he asked gently. Emma's eyes went empty again. "There was a night," she said slowly. "A terrible night." She walked toward him again, very close. So much anger, so much shouting. Daniel's heart beat loudly. "What happened that night?" Her lips trembled. We fought near the stairs. Her breathing grew heavy. I remember falling. She looked down at her hands. There was blood. Daniel's stomach turned. Who fell? He asked carefully. Emma looked up. Her expression was impossible to read. Both of us, she whispered. Silence filled the small room. Daniel felt dizzy. That's not possible, he said. She stepped closer until her face was only inches from his. You think only one of us survived? Her eyes locked onto his. You are wrong. Daniel stepped back slowly. Fear crawled up his spine. What are you saying? She smiled faintly. Sometimes the body survives. She touched her chest. But the mind splits. Daniel felt cold all over. You're saying? Yes, she interrupted softly. She never left. Her voice lowered. She just learned how to share. Daniel's hands trembled. This isn't real. She laughed quietly, a sound that did not sound like Emma at all. Reality is simple, she said. People are not. Suddenly, a loud noise came from upstairs. The front door. Someone knocking. Hard. Daniel and Emma both looked toward the staircase. The knocking continued. Loud. Urgent. Emma's face changed again. Fear this time. Real fear. The pounding on the door did not stop. Police! Open the door now. Daniel's heart was racing so fast it hurt. He looked at Emma. But the woman standing in front of him did not look confused anymore. She looked angry. You called them, she said coldly. I didn't, Daniel replied quickly. Her eyes searched his face. For a second, he thought she would attack him. Then her expression changed again. Fear. Real fear. They cannot take her away, she whispered. Who? Daniel asked again. But she did not answer. Instead, she ran up the stairs. Daniel followed her quickly. When they reached the living room, 3 police officers were standing at the front door. One of them shouted again, Sir, open the door. Daniel rushed forward and unlocked it. The door flew open. Step back, please, one officer said firmly. Daniel raised his hands slightly. What is going on? He asked. The officers looked inside the house carefully. Then one of them looked at Emma, or the woman behind him. Her face had become completely calm. Too calm. Ma'am, the officer said slowly. We need to speak with you. She smiled softly. Of course. Daniel stared at her. That was not the reaction of someone afraid. One officer turned to Daniel. Sir, we received a call from this address earlier tonight. Daniel felt confused. A call? From who? The officer looked down at his notebook. The caller said her sister was trying to hurt her. Daniel's body went cold. Sister. The officer continued. The caller sounded distressed. She said she was trapped in the house. Daniel slowly turned toward Emma. Her face was blank. I didn't call anyone, Daniel said quietly. The officer nodded. The call came from inside this house. Silence filled the room. Emma's eyes slowly moved toward Daniel. She lies, she whispered softly. The officers exchanged looks. Ma'am, who lies? One asked. She stepped forward slightly. Emma lies, she said calmly. Daniel felt like the world stopped spinning. You are Emma, he said. She looked at him slowly. No, she replied. My name is Elena. The officers froze. Daniel's breathing became heavy. This is not funny, he whispered. Elena or Emma smiled faintly. She is always trying to lock me away, she said, pointing to her own head. She hides me in dark places. One officer stepped closer. Ma'am, do you know where you are right now? Yes, she answered clearly. I am in my house. What year is it? She answered correctly. What is your full name? She paused. Her lips trembled. Emma, she said softly. Then her face twisted. No, she whispered angrily. Elena. Her hands began to shake. Daniel stepped forward. Please stop. She turned toward him sharply. You promised you would protect me, she said. I don't understand, Daniel said helplessly. Tears suddenly filled her eyes. They pushed her, she whispered. Daniel felt confused. Who pushed who? She grabbed her head tightly. Stop asking questions. Her voice echoed loudly in the room. The officers moved closer carefully. It's okay, one of them said gently. You're safe. She started laughing, soft at first, then louder. You think I am the danger? She asked. You have no idea what she did. Daniel's stomach twisted. What did she do? He asked carefully. Her laughter stopped. Slowly, she looked at him with eyes full of pain. That night on the stairs, she said quietly. She pushed me. Daniel's heart skipped. You said you both fell. She shook her head slowly. No. Her voice dropped. She was jealous. The officers looked confused. She hated that I was stronger, Elena continued. She hated that everyone listened to me. Daniel's mind felt like it was breaking. You said they loved Elena more, he whispered. She smiled sadly. That was her story. The room became silent. Even the officers were quiet now. So what really happened? Daniel asked softly. Her eyes filled with tears again. There was only one fall, she whispered. And only one girl survived. Daniel felt dizzy. Who survived? He asked carefully. She looked directly into his eyes. Emma. The word felt heavy. She survived, Elena continued. But she could not live with what she did. Daniel's chest tightened. What did she do? Elena stepped closer. She pushed me. The room felt smaller, hard to breathe. And when I died, she whispered slowly, she created me again. Daniel stared at her. You're saying, I am her guilt, she finished softly. Silence. Heavy. Painful. The officers spoke quietly to each other. One of them gently reached toward her. Ma'am, we think you need medical help. She did not fight. She did not scream. She just looked tired. Very tired. As they guided her toward the door, she turned back to Daniel. Her eyes looked soft again, almost like the woman he married. I tried to keep her quiet, she whispered. The house felt colder after she left. Daniel stood alone in the living room long after the police car disappeared from sight. The silence felt heavy, pressed against his ears. He slowly walked back inside and closed the door. Everything looked normal. The sofa, the table, the photos on the wall. But nothing felt normal anymore. He walked toward the hidden staircase again. He did not know why. Maybe he wanted proof that it was real. Maybe he wanted to wake up from this nightmare. He pushed the bookshelf aside. The thin door was still there. He opened it slowly and walked down the stairs. The small room below felt darker now. The light bulb flickered weakly. The photos were still on the wall. Emma. Elena. Emma. Elena. Daniel walked closer to the table and picked up the notebook again. He flipped through the pages slowly. At the end of the notebook, something new caught his attention. The last page had fresh writing. The ink looked new. Very new. It said, "He is starting to believe her." Daniel's heart stopped. He did not remember seeing that sentence before. His hands began to shake. Who wrote this? Emma was taken by the police. There was no one else in the house. He dropped the notebook. His breathing became heavy. "This isn't possible," he whispered. Then he heard it. A soft sound. Very soft. Like a whisper. Right behind him. "You should not be down here alone." Daniel turned around quickly. No one. The room was empty. His heart pounded hard against his chest. "I'm imagining this," he told himself. He picked up his phone and turned on the flashlight again. The corners of the room looked darker than before. The shadows seemed deeper. He took a slow step backward. The whisper came again. Soft. Closer this time. "She is not gone." Daniel froze. His skin felt cold. "Stop," he said out loud. Silence. Then a quiet laugh. Not loud. Not clear. But real. Daniel's mind raced. Was he losing control too? Was he starting to hear what Emma heard? He rushed up the stairs quickly and closed the hidden door. He pushed the bookshelf back in place. He stepped away from it as if it could move on its own. The house felt different now, like it was watching him. Daniel grabbed his keys. He needed air. He needed space. He left the house and got into his car. As he drove, his hands were still shaking. He tried to think clearly. Emma was sick. The police said she would get medical help. Everything had an explanation. It was a mental illness. That was all. But why did the notebook have new writing? Why did he hear whispers? Was it stress? Fear? Or something else? His phone suddenly rang. Daniel almost dropped it. He looked at the screen. Unknown number. He hesitated for a moment. Then he answered. Hello. Silence. Then a slow breath on the other side. Daniel. His blood turned cold. It was her voice, but softer, almost calm. Elena? He whispered without thinking. A quiet laugh came from the phone. No, the voice said gently. Emma. His heart pounded. How are you calling me? He asked quickly. They let me use the phone, she replied. Her voice sounded normal, almost too normal. Are you okay? He asked carefully. Yes, she answered. A pause. Daniel, did you go back downstairs? His grip tightened on the steering wheel. How do you know about that? He asked. Silence again. Then softly, she doesn't like it when you touch her things. Daniel felt dizzy. You said she isn't real. Another pause. Then her voice changed slightly. Lower. She is real enough. The call suddenly ended. Daniel stared at his phone. His heart was racing again. He pulled the car to the side of the road. He tried to breathe slowly. This had to be stress, shock, trauma. But deep inside, something felt wrong. Very wrong. He drove back home slowly. As he entered the house, everything was quiet again. Too quiet. He walked toward the hallway mirror. He did not know why. He just felt drawn to it. He stood in front of it and looked at his reflection. His face looked tired, older. He leaned closer. And then, for just 1 second, the reflection behind him did not match. Behind his image in the mirror, he saw a woman standing in the hallway. Long dark hair, cold eyes. Watching him, Daniel spun around instantly. No one. The hallway was empty. He turned back to the mirror. Only himself, breathing hard, alone. But as he stepped back slowly, something appeared on the mirror. Faint, like before. 3 words forming slowly in the fog of his breath. She chose you. Daniel's legs felt weak. His mind felt like it was breaking apart. Was Emma's illness spreading to him? Or was something else happening? Something darker. Because now he understood something terrifying. Maybe Emma did not create Elena alone. Maybe Elena was created by something deeper. Something that lived in guilt, in lies, in the